Hey, what's going on, guys? Shane here. So running a martial arts and self-defense YouTube channel with nearly 2 million subscribers, I receive thousands of messages from people asking fight-related questions. It could be anything from, how do I beat my bully? Is my form correct? Is this a good workout regimen? Now, what I've noticed is a lot of you guys are in very similar situations and are asking the exact same questions. So I thought I'd answer it publicly in a video like this to help out more people. And yes, I did get permission from each individual person because these are personal questions being asked. That being said, my answers are just my opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. All right, so let's take a look at the first DM. Okay, so let's take a look at the first question. Now, this is one that I often ponder myself. I know Joe Rogan talks about it a lot on his podcast, and it's the question of how much weight should I lift if I'm a fighter? Should I lift weights at all? Will it slow me down and inhibit my movements? Now, I got this question from my guy who says, for boxing, what kind of weightlifting should I do and how often, without getting slow with movement and punches? Should I avoid weightlifting and rely on calisthenics? I'm a huge Mike Tyson fan, and I read he only relied on calisthenics because his team felt weights would slow him down. Is that a realistic approach given his very stocky build? And I thought the same thing too. I thought Mike Tyson could have passed for a bodybuilder. Huge upper body, big pecs, his legs were in good shape, and it looked like he could have lifted weights. But I also read too that he only did calisthenics. Now, I wonder if that's 100% true, and maybe behind the scenes he was doing some strength and conditioning, but let's say it is true. Let's say he was only doing calisthenics. He still did very sport-specific stuff, and he was very explosive with his movements. He was a heavyweight, right? So he had a lot of weight that he was pushing around. So therefore, he's going to develop a lot of muscle. But his movements, like I said, were explosive. They were plyometric, and so were his workouts. If you watched him, he was always dropping down into low squats when he was doing his jump ropes. When he was hitting mitts, it was very powerful, very explosive. He would do a lot of neck strengthening exercises so that he could take punches and his head wouldn't be rattled all over the place. So that's the one thing that I always go for is keep it sport specific. Even if you're going to do weights, you're probably not going to lie flat on your back and just do a steady bench press. You're probably not going to stand and just do curls. Although curls are important because you're going to develop the bicep muscle if you then start doing overhand, underhand deadlifts, you want to have a strong bicep muscle so it doesn't tear. So there are times where you're going to do like a bodybuilding type exercise because it's going to help with the sport-specific exercise that's going to help with your fighting, right? So what I said is I believe in balance. If you spend all of your time lifting and only 5 minutes fight training, then you're going to be a great lifter but a lousy fighter. However, I do believe that certain lifts and regimens will supplement your strength, balance, and speed. This is a question that has no clear answer because each coach and fighter has their own beliefs. They're also built differently, right? So as mentioned, if your goal is to be a fighter, then you have to spend majority of your time and energy on fight training, which is heavy bag, sparring, shadow boxing. Because if you're only doing weights, right, then that's what you're going to be good at. When the punches start flying, you're not going to have good reaction time. You're not going to have good defense. You're not going to have good timing, right? That's the stuff that you're going to work. That's what makes a good fighter. It's not being strong or looking good aesthetically. Okay, the next question is about training without a gym. If you don't have access to a gym, there's no gyms nearby, or you can't afford it, how can you train on your own, and is it a viable option? So the question I got was, I'm sorry to bother you. Never be sorry to bother me. That's what I'm here for, guys. He says, but I really wanted to reach out to you and see if you can recommend me anything. I've been doing martial arts for 6 years, and I did reach a junior black belt. Awesome work, man. He says, my dojo closed for about 2 years already, and I've been training on my own ever since, but lately it seems that I lost my fire, my will to practice my art. I don't know what to do. I can't afford to join another dojo at the moment. My question is, what will you recommend me to do? If anything, can you please help? I'm willing to try new exercises or anything at this point. I just don't want to lose this important part of my life. Thank you for your time. Of course, brother. I mean, right off the bat, I prefer having privacy and being able to train in my home. I'm in my garage right now. I got the heavy bag, I got the weights, I got the double M bag. I invite friends and trainers over so that we can hold mitts for each other and spar and stay fresh that way. However, I do understand missing the class setting. I just signed up for my second gym, so now I'm training at 2 different gyms because, I mean, there's so many different reasons. It's the camaraderie. It's testing yourself and training with people who are better than you. That's the best way of improving. It's having a watchful eye from your coach to be able to tell you if you're doing something right or doing something wrong. So my advice is this, and this is what my response was. I said, hey buddy, sorry to hear about your dojo closing down. What I recommend is what you've already been doing according to your Instagram page, because I creeped on them. Set a schedule and train outside with partners and coaches at a park. Rocky IV style. Remember the scene in Rocky IV? He's running up the mountains, like one of the most motivational montages of all time. I said, the world is your gym. You just need the knowledge and direction. If you really want to be in a gym environment, which I understand, you could always start hustling for money by mowing lawns or pulling weeds for neighbors. That's what I did. I was doing chores, I was mowing lawns, I was taking odd jobs here and there, I was working at a deli just so that I could afford training at an MMA gym. From there I went on to say, or even just find a local gym and offer to clean the facility for a free membership. I'm telling you, working with hidden gyms and talking to gym owners across the world, they would love that. If they saw that you were hardworking, dedicated, and you came in and you said, listen, I can't afford a membership to train here, but I really, really want to. Martial arts is my focus in life, and I'll do whatever it takes. I can clean, I can mop the floors, I can clean the toilets in turn for a free membership. How does that sound? And I can say that 9 out of 10 times a gym owner is going to say yes, and if the first one doesn't, try the next one and keep hustling. You can't give up after the first try. Urgent. My hands are shaking whenever I do some heavy bag workout. Is it bad? Now I am writing this message, and my hands are shaking after 1 hour of shadowboxing and heavy bag. This is common, especially amongst beginners. If you do any hard workout, and boxing, heavy bag is definitely a hard workout, it is common that we'll shake, and it's usually a sign of dehydration or not having enough nutrients in your body, right? So that was the first thing that I said to my man here. I said, sounds like you're dehydrated, buddy. Be sure to drink plenty of water throughout the day and get more sodium in your diet to make sure that you retain that water, right? If you're just drinking water and you're dehydrated, your body will think, oh, this is excess, I don't need this, right? And then it's just going to get rid of it when you pee. So you have to have a little bit of sodium. So it could be the foods that you're eating, it could be electrolytes, it could be like a energy drink, like a sports drink, not an energy drink, but even that, like a Gatorade or Powerade, they are way too sweet, they have way too much sugar in them. What I tend to do, if that's my only option, is I will mix like 1/4 Gatorade, 3/4 water, just so that I can retain that water and rehydrate. I said, I personally don't like drinking water during workouts because it gives me cramps, but I drink a lot before and after. So, throughout the day, when you wake up, I always like to drink, about 20 ounces of water. And then I try to always do that throughout the day. I give myself a break before I work out, at least a half hour, so that there's not water bouncing around in my stomach. And then afterwards, gradually, add more water to your diet. Also, make sure you replenish your body with vitamins and nutrients, as well as stretching your hands, wrists, and forearms. So replenishing means eating food, right? Because your body may be craving fats or proteins or even carbohydrates. And then stretching, if you're specifically focusing on boxing, which is very much a full body workout, it could be anything from the legs, the hips, the core that you have to stretch. But if you feel it in your hands and your forearms mostly, easy stretches that you can do are just grabbing all 4 fingers, peeling them back and stretching the muscles in your forearm here and just holding this for about 10 to 30 seconds. And then you'll switch and go to the opposite side. And then I like doing each individual finger. So I'll do this just when I'm watching television or on my phone or something. I'll just be pulling one finger back and then just really stretching down. Well, I guess I can't do that while I'm on my phone. Well, let's see. Call me a liar. Boom, and pulling the pinky back and pulling the ring finger back. But it does. It feels really good, and you can feel it in different parts of the forearm. You can go in opposite directions, roll the wrist out. Just bring some blood flow, and like I said, just stretch the muscles so that you limber up. All right, I got a good one here. It says, Shane, I'm going to join a gym soon. You got any tips to kick my sparring partner's ass? So I said, sparring partners are for making each other better, not to hurt each other. Use sparring to work on strategies, to perfect your technique, and to improve your flaws. Save the ass kicking for when you start competing against other gyms. Now, you may have heard this before, right? Leave your ego at the door, because gym owners don't want their students getting hurt. They don't want any animosity between the students within the gym. And it makes sense, right? However, I do believe that you need some sort of ego. You need to believe in yourself, right? Because if you plan on being the best in the world, you want to be the UFC champion of the world, then you have to be better than the guys in the gym, right? Kind of contradicts each other. But that being said, that doesn't mean that you hurt your sparring partner, right? You can pull your shots, you can still land them, you can still work on your technique, or maybe you can have them be more aggressive and you're the one that's working on your defense. So even if you know that you're better than the person, you can still improve working with them. But no, never try to hurt that person, because you're a team. You should be working together and helping each other get to the top. Alright, so there's a new video floating around of an instructor beating up his students. He has them line up against the wall with their hands behind their back, and he punches them in the body and in the head for conditioning purposes. Now, there's a very similar video like this that I saw a while back that I covered, and I talked about how stupid it was. So I got this message from my friend Kyle, and he says, "What do you think of this? I saw you made a video on something like this a while back, but just thought I'd send this to you." Huge fan, by the way. So I said, "Hey, Kyle, yeah, man, it's simply just a lack of knowledge and experience that causes an instructor to put his students through this. I guess the idea is that they will be conditioned to take a hit and they won't flinch when punches start flying in a real fight, but this is just way more detrimental than it is beneficial." I mean, people now, I guess it's an old school way of thinking, but there's research, there's studies that show trauma to the head, your brain is literally floating in your skull in a fluid. And if a quick acceleration or deceleration happens, then your brain is going to hit the wall. It's going to hit your skull, and it's going to cause it to swell. You're not going to get stronger from that. It's going to cause your brain to bleed. It's going to kill brain cells, and you're only going to get weaker and more susceptible to knockouts. So the more you get hit in training, the weaker you're going to be in a fight. It's the opposite of what they actually want. So that's what I said is, recent studies show the seriousness of trauma to the head and concussions, which is what makes this such a stupid drill. I personally believe in conditioning the body from the neck down. And that's a real thing. That's body tempering, right? So I can take kicks to the forearms and my muscles are going to become more conditioned, my nerves are going to be desensitized, my bones are going to get stronger from microfractures, and then they callus and rebuild and get stronger so that I can take more damage, right? Injuries to the head, it doesn't happen the same way. So anything from the neck up, the jaw, which is going to cause whiplash, twisting, or bouncing of the head, that's going to only do damage and have negative effects on the body. From the neck down, I understand conditioning, yeah, to be able to take leg kicks, to be able to throw kicks and not feel pain in the shin. That kind of thing makes sense. Of course, if it's a joint or if it's an actual injury like a broken bone, then you have to let it heal. Anything to the head, though, no, you can't. You can only work on your defense, your reaction time, keep your eyes sharp, but you can't take punches to the head and expect to eat them in a fight. It doesn't work that way. Alright, here's one that I get very often. This one's a little more specific because he has an ACL injury. So he says, "Hey Shane, quick question. I want to start practicing a martial art, but I'm not sure which one to consider." And I understand that there are tons of martial arts out there, tons of really good ones. So he goes on to say, "I have an ACL injury in my left leg. I'm guessing Taekwondo is out. What would you recommend? I really want to learn a practical martial art so I can use it in a fight if needed." So a street self-defense situation. He goes on to say, "I was looking at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I can't really use that if being attacked in the streets." And I disagree entirely. He says, "Maybe boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, Karate, I don't know where to start." And like I said, there are tons out there. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I believe, is great for the streets. I mean, you get someone in a rear naked choke, you can take them out in 3 seconds and they're out unconscious. If you're boxing with someone and they're, they just have a good punch, or maybe they're fearless or they're drunk or something, and you can't take them out right away, and you're going back and forth for 2 minutes, next thing you know, you got a broken nose and a broken orbital, but you won the fight. I mean, I understand if you go to the ground with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and there's 3 guys around, they're stomping on you, and it's not going to do you very good, right? Or, if there's a knife involved. But that aside, there's standing submissions, there's takedowns, there's sweeps. If someone takes you onto your back, you know how to defend yourself and you know how to be dangerous from that position. So Jiu-Jitsu is great for the streets. So I said, hey, I always recommend doing your research on various martial arts. This way, whenever you choose a style, you are generally interested in it and eager to learn. Because imagine this metaphor. Let's say you pick up an instrument and you hate the sound of it. Well, you're not going to want to pick that thing up every day and practice for an hour, right? You're going to create an excuse and you're going to go do something else. It's the same thing with martial arts. You have to love it. You have to want to do it, because there's going to be days where you wake up and you're like, I don't feel like going to training. But when you remember your goals and how much you love the martial art, that's what's going to motivate you to keep going. I said, and just that, you may lose interest and give up on training. Boxing may be good, although it still utilizes a lot of the legs, right? He has that ACL injury in his left leg, and you're still going to be bobbing and weaving and squatting and pushing off of the legs to throw punches. Although I did have a foot injury from Muay Thai, and then I went on to boxing, so that can be a good option for you. I said Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is great for self-defense. He says, I love sticking to style of boxing and the sweet science and techniques, but I also wanted to use my elbows and knees. I was hoping you have a recommendation. I know you really like Muay Thai. He says the more research I do, I keep finding more styles. Hapkido, Kyokushin, karate, judo, wrestling, kickboxing, Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai. I can't narrow it down. Well, now I'd say, are all of these options available in your area? You know, because when I first started training at a Muay Thai gym, I had to travel an hour and a half. I had to take a train, and then I had to take a bus to get there. And that was a pain in the butt. Once I started finding gyms more close, more local to me, I found myself going more often. Now that I have my own gym in my garage, I train every single day. All right, this next one here, we actually made a video on a couple years back, but I still get asked all the time. It says, hey Shane, I began learning MMA about a week ago, and I can't kick with my left leg. Very common. I'd be more surprised if you were really good at kicking with your non-dominant leg. But like I said, a lot of beginners have this problem. So I said, hey buddy, it's a very common problem that beginners have. Try throwing a ball, try writing your name, try brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. It's probably going to be just as challenging as kicking with your left leg. And it's because you've done less reps. You're so used to doing everything with your dominant hand and dominant leg that you just don't have as much dexterity in that limb. So I said, the secret is no secret at all. It takes practice, right? Walk yourself through step by step how you throw your right kick, and then do the same with your left. So you take a cheat step, you pivot on that foot, the knee drives, you turn the hip over and you swing that arm. Do that step by step with your left leg, sort of coaching yourself through each step of the way. I said you can also record yourself and figure out what you're doing wrong. That's something that I still do all the time. I record myself and I look at each individual movement and I say, this is wrong, I could tweak this, my weight is back a little too much. So I recommend doing the same thing. This way you become your own coach. Okay, I saved the hardest one for last. It's, hey, could you make a fightTIPS video about knife fighting? It's a hard one to master. That's an understatement. I'd say it's an impossible topic to talk about. We've done a couple of knife videos on fightTIPS, knife defense, knife fighting. We've had Penchak Silat guys on. We've had Krav Maga experts on. And people will argue to the death in the comment section that this stuff will get you killed. You got to do it my way. This is the only way that it works. This is how you defend against a knife. This is BS. And what concerns me about that is when people are doing the research and they start reading these comments, they get confused and they're like, is this person right? Is this the correct way? How do I do it? And then if, God forbid, they actually do get attacked by someone with a knife, they're like, which was the correct way? Should I be, doing like more of a wushu motion? Should I be just trying to control the knife hand? So at the end of the day, this is what it comes down to. You have a person with a knife and you have a person who doesn't have a knife. Who has the advantage? The person with the knife, obviously, they have the bladed weapon, they have more range, they're more dangerous, and usually they use the element of surprise. They usually try to ambush you. They usually don't go, hey, I got a knife, you ready? I'm going to come in with a forward thrust and you're going to defend against it, right? They get real close to you, they either sneak up behind you or it's in the middle of a confrontation, they whip it out, and next thing you know, they're thrusting towards your stomach with a knife. So here's what I said. I said, hello there, you ain't kidding, and it's not exactly my area of expertise. If you're referring to a martial arts style that focuses on knife fighting, then I recommend Penchak Silat or Kali Eskrima. This is going to be where each of you have sticks or each of you have knives, and you're going back and forth to really find the rhythm of sticky hands and blocking and defending and countering with a knife. But then I went on to say, if you're asking about defense against a knife attack, meaning you don't have a knife and someone attacks you with a knife, that's a tricky one to answer. In fact, I've worked with Penchak Silat gurus and Krav Maga experts that still admit that they're not invincible against knives, and this is what they do for a living. Most knife attackers ambush, using the element of surprise, giving you no time to react or defend, or very little time. This is why situational awareness is key. Whenever you're out in public or approached by a stranger, attackers usually keep the knife concealed until they are close enough to stab their victim. So what we do know based on statistics is most cases are reported that the attacker will lead with a non-stabbing hand to clear or grab and then thrust, as opposed to swinging or chopping. So they'll use empty hand, as they call it, and then they have the knife hand in the rear. So they're going to try to either clear an opening so that they can stab and thrust in, or they're going to grab a hold of you to pull you into the attack. And it's very common that they either thrust this way or they try to come over top, and it's more of a stabbing motion. From here, once limbs start flowing and there's a fight, then it's more of a chopping motion. But what you want to protect is your arteries, the inside of your limbs or your torso, because that's where all of your major organs are. So control the knife hand is the number one. That's my thing, is see where the knife is and try to control that and keep it away from, like I said, the insides of the limbs, right? Insides of the legs, insides of the arms, that's where the major arteries are, and the torso. But if you practice more, you'll be better at it. So put yourself in an environment like a Krav Maga gym, a Kali gym. So this way, when if it ever does happen and someone pulls a knife on you, it's not like a deer in headlights and you're like, what do I do? I forget what that fightTIPS video told me. Practice it so that it becomes second nature. Alright guys, thanks for watching. So let me know down in the comments if you want me to continue this series. And if you have a specific question yourself, shoot me a DM on my Instagram at Shane Faison. I can't promise that I'll respond, but I will try my best. Until next time, be sure to subscribe to get the fight tips before your opponent does. I'm Shane with fightTIPS for the underdogs.